Hello everyone. I am coming to you off camera today because quite honestly I haven't had a shower and I'm still in my pajamas. But the house is unexpectedly quiet and fairly empty for a very short window, and I needed to grab it while I could. The rest of the day is probably shot, and since I didn't do an update last week, really wanted to get one done today. So I think I already discussed these pencils in my last video. I did find that when I got the rest of my order of pencils, these were all much smaller than the original ones I had. These measure the equivalent of about 6.5 inches, which is fine. That's a pencil that's been used a little bit. I think I measured a brand new pencil at about 7.5 inches. So the equivalent of 6.5 inches works really well. And you can still kind of see the wax where I stuck them down there a little bit. Might be able to clean that up a little more if I fuss at it a bit. But I'm just really don't want to lose those pencils. So I think it looks pretty good. And then I did add these notebooks, which I got in, and I really think that that just kind of completes the desk for me. I'm pretty happy with how that looks now. Last weekend, the reason I did not do an update was that I was in Chicago for the weekend with my husband, visiting our daughter who lives there, one of our daughters. The other two are still in this area. And it was extremely cold for the whole weekend. Wind chills were in the negative numbers, so that was a little crazy. Didn't bother me a whole lot. I have a pretty good tolerance for cold. My husband was not so happy, but he was a good sport about it. We were walking to get our meals. We had this great little hotel room in Lakeview, and it was just a couple blocks over from North Broadway, which was full of great little shops and restaurants and, just all sorts of things. We were also walking distance from our daughter's apartment, so that was nice. And so we did do a fair amount of walking to get our meals and to, go look into shops and do different little things like that. On Friday, my daughter had to work and then had a work event after work, so we didn't get to see her at all that day, sadly. So my husband and I were on our own, and which is fine. We found things to do, like take naps and read books. But we also went to this Kindle market, and here are a couple of photos from that. Now these are stock photos. These are not photos that I took myself. I just kind of had my hands full, and it was quite cold, and I wasn't really thinking about trying to take photos that day. We were just trying to stay out of everyone else's way. It was very crowded. We had to wait probably about 20 minutes to even be let in. But just a beautiful array of the most gorgeous handcrafted things, and things from Germany and Poland and I don't remember what other countries, but a lot of just really nice things. And then in the evening we went to a one-man show, literally a magic show, put on by this guy who does his own backstage work and his own ticket sales and his own seating and everything, and it was a really, really good show. And I'm gonna have to pop his name up on the screen because I can't think of it at the moment, and that's really awful because he definitely deserves credit. So if you are in Chicago actually has, my husband said 4 or 5, I think 5 magic venues, which is kind of a lot. Most cities don't have that many. And so we've seen a couple of, we've seen, I'm trying to think, did we see, I think we might have seen another show another time out there. I know we saw a good comedy show. We may have seen another magic show. I'm kind of losing track, but this show is really worth seeing. And if you're ever in Chicago and have a chance to go see it, I would recommend it. And then we had wanted to see the Harry Potter store. I really wanted to see the Harry Potter store, but that wait was a couple of hours or more. And they have a setup where you can scan a QVC code and they'll update you about where you are in line and you can wander around the area while you're waiting. However, it was not wandering around the area weather at all that day. It was just really bitterly cold. So while it was fine to just, walk quickly from the bus stop to the restaurant where we had lunch or do something like that, it wasn't the kind of day where you were going to be happy wandering around outside looking at shop windows and things like that while you waited to get in. So we missed the Harry Potter store. My daughter also wanted to take us to this 5-story Starbucks store that's supposed to be really impressive. I couldn't care less about Starbucks. I really think it's highly overrated, and I think their coffee tastes like dirt. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but I hate Starbucks. But I guess the store is really interesting, and so we were like, sure, yeah, we'll go see it, and it'll be cool. But that was also a very, very long wait to get in outside, so we didn't do that either. So mostly our weekend consisted of just hanging out with our daughter over lunch or over a football game and takeout and just being with her, which was lovely, and a lot of downtime just reading books or literally sleeping late or taking naps, and it was wonderful because it was just, for me, it was just a very refreshing feeling to wake up and think, I don't have anything more important right now to do than take a shower, get dressed, and find breakfast. At home, I wake up with a list of 20 things that need to be done before 10 o'clock. So it's just, it was just nice to have that, like, to step away from that need to do everything situation. So that was really nice. Now, the one thing that I have managed to get done is my little mini cross stitch. As I said, I don't love the colors that I ended up working with here, but I don't think they're terrible, and I'm okay with it. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to try to figure out how to frame it. I found this one frame. I've seen these around, very antique, vintagey sort of looking way to frame a needlework project or cross stitch project, and I'd like to try to figure out if there's a way I can do that. Now, I do have some of these cocktail sticks that have this fancy carved end, and I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can use that to kind of reproduce that frame. I don't know. The thing is that this is tapered, so I'm not sure how I would make that work. But I'm going to play around with it and see what I can come up with. Now, I wanted to give you this visual. I talked a little bit about scale last time, about how this cross stitch is not true to scale. Let's get you in here. Okay, so this right here is a strand of embroidery floss, and if you are at all familiar with embroidery floss or cross stitch or anything like that, you know these strands are made, these strands are made up of actually 6 strands twisted together. I don't know if you can see that, but there's actually 6 threads in there. And most of the needlework and cross stitch that I've ever done, you pull out 2 strands and you do your cross stitch with that. Okay. Now what I did was I used a single strand of sewing thread to do my cross stitch. And I was pretty sure that that was not accurate to scale. And to check that, I cut 12 sewing threads, right? Because remember, if you're working in 1/12 scale, this is 1/12 of real life, or to get back to real life, you multiply that by 12. So here are 12 sewing threads twisted together, and you can see they much more resemble the original strand of embroidery floss, which is too large. You would not do cross stitch with all 6 of the strands that are in there. And it's quite a lot thicker and bulkier than this 2-strand selection of threads that you would work with. So definitely not true to scale. The other thing is that I've looked at the stitches per inch, or the holes per inch. And so Aida cloth comes in a lot of different sizes. One of there's 7 holes per inch, there's 11 holes per inch. This would be kind of a not very finished. This is something you might do on a cushion, a pillow, throw pillow, something like that. And it wouldn't be very tightly packed stitches. It wouldn't be a very detailed image that you have there. Bring this a little closer so you can see it better. The smallest, rather the largest stitches you'd be likely to work with are 14 stitches per inch, so 14 times 12. So if I were to do 11 times 12, that's 132 stitches per inch to get that down to scale. Okay, but still not one of the most common sizes. 14 is more common. And then there are tighter ones with 16, 18 stitches per inch and even more. So if I were to work with a 14 count cloth times 12, that would be 168 inches. I'm sorry, 168 stitches per inch to get that down to dollhouse size scale. So I was just trying to wrap my head around what does that actually look like. So if you break it down a little bit, here's a 1/4 inch from this long yellow line to here. Okay, so in that 1/4 inch you would need to have 42 stitches to get to dollhouse scale. Or in this 1/8 inch, right between these two little yellow lines, you would need to have 21 stitches. So imagine trying to get 21 stitches in that little tiny space right there. Okay. Plus having used threads that are thinner even than the ones I was using, like probably the size of a human hair or something. I don't know how small you'd have to go. So I don't know if that visual helps. I hope that gives you a little bit of a better idea of why I'm saying this is not at all to scale. And even, I mean, you know, this is going to be the equivalent of about a 12-inch square piece of needlework. If I were to blow this up into real life, this would be about 12 inches square. But, you know, I think, I do think that it will work overall. I think sometimes you just have to allow for what's possible and be okay with it. And I think it's going to look okay when I get it finished and put into the housekeeper's room. And so what I have left to do is to frame that embroidery piece, which I want to put up on that wall there. I need to get this light wired into place, and I'm kind of holding off on that until I get the chair done. So I did buy a kit to make a chair, which I'm sure I will not get to for a while yet, but I want to put a chair right here. And then I want to get a few more little things to put on the bureau. And then I think I will feel like this room is pretty well done. And I'm really pretty happy with how it came out. I like this room a lot. So the rest of my day is I need to do the bills and the budget stuff, and we have a party to go to this afternoon. We had a party to go to yesterday afternoon. So it's a lot of rushing around. Christmas is Thursday. Tuesday I'm having the younger generation over to decorate the Christmas cookies. Wednesday we have Christmas Eve at my sister-in-law's house. Thursday we have Christmas brunch here with some of the other family members. And so yeah, so it's kind of a mad dash this week. But anyway, if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you're having a good week and that your shopping is done and your wrapping is almost done. I've still got some wrapping left to do. I've got the food shopping left to do, which I'll try to do tomorrow before the stores get too absolutely insane. And I hope you have a really lovely, peaceful, enjoyable, fun holiday. And hopefully I will see you next week. The update may be about my life and not at all about the dollhouse, but we'll see. I do have a fun trip planned on Saturday. A little day trip with a couple of friends that I should be able to report on. Does have something to do with miniatures, so I'll leave you guessing about that, and hopefully we'll have a little report on that for next week. So, Merry Christmas, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
do.